Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
I'll take on any job for the right price.
You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
As you wish.
Abdul Hassan is the elf.
He's all yours, bounty hunter.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Welcome in to the Carbonite Chronicles, presented by the Hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, this show is dedicated to celebrating, talking about, reviewing the Disney Plus mega hit, The Mandalorian. Guys, we're back, and I'm Matt.
I'm Jared.
I'm Brian.
I'm Lindsay.
Man, I love this crew. I love this Star Wars crew that we got going here. This is
Quite a fine crew.
Me too.
It's a fantastic.
Aw.
Love it.
Guys, we got to jump right into this because there's so much to talk about.
This is a good one. I like this
But
one.
before we do, we have to give everybody a warning. Jared, you got it ready?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have this queued up to the correct
Okay, hold on.
place.
If you're just joining the show, which by the way, you're jumping in the middle of our show, Jared, what is that?
This is the spoiler Walkman. It is a Walkman, a vintage of probably 1991. It does have a AM/FM tuner, and of course, the cassette player. But for our purposes, it plays a spoiler warning, which warns you that we're going to be spoiling everything about this episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't listen to this show. But you know, I'm ready to get into it and talk about the Mines of Moria, Mandalore, and I think we should play the spoiler warning now.
Give it to him.
Space, the final frontier.
Hey, Jared.
Well,
I got something that might actually work. It's a generic Walkman.
Oh man,
that won't work.
Do we try it?
He's
That
gonna
won't
shut-
work. Okay,
I think we got a new spoiler Walkman.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you this week.
You know, it's not that hard. Brian, thank you
Listen.
for coming to the plate, guys. We are going to spoil everything about this episode, the Mines of Mandalore.
Moria, the Mines of Moria.
You got me tongue twisted by saying that.
I know.
Guys, let's dive in. Dive in.
You know,
What
I
an
thought
episode.
the Mines of Moria when I was watching it.
I did
We'll
too.
dive in like Din.
Oh yeah.
Didn't.
Dive in like Din.
Didn't.
Oh,
Oh man, that was
nice.
good.
Which, by the way, when I
like
saw the name of this episode, because I didn't jump ahead, I didn't look like on IMDb or I didn't go into Disney Plus earlier today until I watched the episode. I was actually kind of shocked that we're at the mines this quick in the show. I thought this was going to be a much later kind of like build up.
Well, it was probably
I was
going to be
excited.
episode 4 originally.
Well, you're talking about
That's a great point.
the two extra episodes from
Right.
Well, you know, it is shocking that it was so soon.
Hmm.
So that makes me wonder, you know, we've got now 6 episodes left and he's already, well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's always fun when we open an episode, we find ourselves on good old Tatooine.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what? Some people have a real problem with that. I love it.
I
I
don't.
absolutely love
I'm
seeing
not-
Mos Eisley every time. I love it. I don't care.
I'm not saying that ironically or trying to be funny. Maybe the Book of Boba Fett, I was getting a little tired of it, but it's been long enough. It's good to see Tatooine again.
Yeah.
I
How
think
about
this show shows enough different planets that I feel like when we do go to Tatooine, I'm like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
Tatooine, not like, oh, we
Mhm.
haven't left
Yeah.
here, this desert place, in a long time.
And we were only on Tatooine for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it was
We're
Boot to
only,
Eve.
we're
and
only
we-
anywhere for 5 minutes.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we saw fireworks. We
Yeah.
saw like Mos
Yeah.
Eisley lit up in a way we haven't seen. It was kind of fun.
It was the
Yeah.
Boonta Eve. That's the celebration first mentioned in the Phantom Menace, the Boonta Eve pod race.
Yeah. And
Which-
apparently it's a great time to scam people.
Yeah, like
Yes.
all of that was really great.
The Jawas walking up in there, Man, that Rhodian, he was not having it though.
No.
He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be."
That was the best dressed Rhodian I think I've seen since maybe
I know
episode
he
3.
raided Carl Weathers' closet.
Yeah, he did.
You know, Pele is straight up comic relief, but I love her. I love
her too.
Every episode she's in. I absolutely think she's great.
Oh, 100% agree. I quite enjoy her, and you know and apparently so does Grogu, because he does a big Jedi leap right into her arms
I know.
when he sees her. But I thought it was fun.
I did like the scam she was pulling. It was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, that was good.
It felt like was she helping scam Obi-Wan back in the day? I don't know. You know, it felt
That's
very
what I thought
connected
too.
to that.
I thought that too.
Oh, because
thoughts.
there was a Jawa who was
If
also
you're going to steal
Yeah.
the circuit board, at least clean it off when you return it.
at least
Right.
clean
Or maybe
it.
that's the Jawa she dated and told her about the scam.
And
That
she's
could
like, you
be.
didn't even she's like, you didn't even paint the parts?
Oh man. Oh yeah. She's like, paint the parts so they look different. Which that whole scene was funny. But she goes there. She went to Tatooine looking for the IG unit's head chip, and not Bespin.
I know. I felt a little ripped off there, honestly.
So
cheated.
It seems like they're just gonna drop that. Like,
I don't know.
we couldn't
Maybe?
get Taika to do the voice, so never mind.
well,
I mean,
Or no.
maybe. I mean, R5, which we will dive into, might not be what he needs.
well,
But maybe he is. But then again, guys, we know what ship Din Djarin has now. He has an old Naboo starfighter that's been modified, which is a really cool ship, and I really like this ship a lot. It has a place for an astromech droid, which they reconverted from Grogu's thing. Where were they going to put IG?
Yes.
Where was he
maybe
going
he
to
doesn't fit in there.
strap him to the hood?
Well,
He
they
probably
probably have like a trunk or something like your car
That
does.
he's gonna like compress down into.
Could you imagine him laying in there just talking
Well,
crap about
maybe-
being stuck in the trunk?
Maybe he just like gets into like a suitcase mode where he's like a
I
transformer.
wonder if he's gonna upgrade and get like a bigger ship to put his little ship in, because
Mm.
It's possible.
it's really not. There's nowhere for him to go pee in there. Like, there's nothing.
Well, he probably has a little bottle that he pees in.
Urine and feces are processed in the thigh pads.
I don't know. I know
Okay.
Star Wars doesn't care about that so much, but
I think I don't know. I've got a technical manual around here that addresses it. I think we'll see, but it's getting a little cramped in there.
Well, wait, real
With-
quick, before we move on off of that subject, is it blasphemy if he shows his other head when he goes to pee or something like that? Does he have to pee covering it up? Does he have a Mando helmet for that too?
Wow.
I don't. I
Wow.
think that could be a problem.
I think he's allowed to eat and drink, so I think he's okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like under the mask. So I mean, does he have to?
So,
He
I
lifts
think-
it. He lifts it up a little bit, and
All right.
well, I mean, I don't know.
I think we can extrapolate from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The things Matt thinks about. I did not think about that
Yes.
once during the episode.
That's part of the creed, man. This is the way.
So, anyway, R5D4.
So glad to see R5.
R5D4. He has such a long history with Star Wars.
Yeah.
He was in the first movie. It has been established he is the droid that
Motivator blew up.
he has a bad motivator, so Luke has to pick R2 instead of R5, and then history was made. But it's so fun how they can bring something like that back into the story.
Yeah.
Like now you watch A New Hope and you're like, oh, R5, your adventure's not over.
Yeah.
We saw
There's-
R5. Was it last season, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Gave
been
him
in
the
it.
map to Tatooine, right?
Yes. And I think R5 is actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
He's like he is a coward, and he has a lot of
Yes.
personality, because he like shakes his head no, and he like backs up and starts like shivering a little bit.
Mhm.
Oh
So
yeah, and like later on, it's like, no, I wasn't asking.
He's just it's fun to see him, and
Yeah.
I don't know how I guess he's still on Bo-Katan's planet as
Yeah.
this episode ends. So
Or
yeah, well that's
in
where
her
his
ship. He's in her
ship.
ship.
He's on her
oh
ship.
no, yeah, that's right. She brought him along too.
He's like watching him. while
Oh
they
yeah, he
go.
turned on the thing.
He
at the end,
plugged
right?
on and watched the
Mhm.
the magic view screen that followed them everywhere somehow.
It's a dash cam.
Okay, I guess so. A dash cam that just follows your every move.
Oh, did they see them after that?
No, we just saw him
No,
walk
I think it
away.
was just when they walked off.
I
So
will
he's
say,
just like, okay, I'm glad those weirdos are gone.
it
I'm
is
leaving.
cool to see like the burn mark on top of R5 is still there.
Yeah.
Where his dome
Yeah.
blew up.
Right. It's like that's the kind of callback in like deep cut Star Wars that you're just like, I'm glad to see that stuff. It makes you feel good.
Sure.
You know,
Well,
it's nice to see.
it's we get a little lesson in cartography
Yeah, that's
from
right.
from Din Djarin, as he's like, you got to learn to study these maps and these displays because you'll never be lost. And I think the second time I watched it, I realized that's how he finds his way back to
Mhm.
Bo-Katan. Because Bo-Katan's right here, and it's another planet in this system.
Mhm.
And so he's probably like just sitting there making his gurgling sounds. And
By the way,
They're
how
so cute.
how
They're so
great
cute.
how great does everything look? I mean, it looks like a movie.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It is really spectacular. The ship entering the planet itself,
Oh,
it really is just
yeah.
outrageously great.
Oh, that first shot underneath the clouds on Mandalore was fantastic.
Yep.
And it was
It-
definitely movie grade quality.
Yeah, it looked amazing. And just out of curiosity, I went back and looked at some pictures from the Clone Wars to what Mandalore used to look like. And they did a pretty good extrapolation of the way it looked then and then the way it would look after, getting nuked, hundreds and hundreds of times.
Mhm.
So that I thought that was pretty interesting. But so we make it to Mandalore, and of course R5 has to go on this unfortunate little scouting mission that he doesn't want to do. And he finds
rightfully so, turns out.
Yes.
He sends him out. Well, you know what? It's interesting because originally we find out that he wanted IG-11 to go because he can spelunk with the droid and he can go on ahead and be safe because it's a capable droid and test the atmosphere to see if it's safe for him to go down. So we find out kind of like the purpose of what he wanted. So he's sick in this little tiny astromech now out to do what kind of a combat robot it was supposed to do. And it didn't work out well.
No, he didn't get very far.
Mm.
I mean, he got into the initial cave, and then we got the Alamites.
Have you noticed that every time, like in the first two episodes, that when he's showing Grogu something on the screen, that something goes wrong?
Like he touches it and it glitches.
Yeah, well, no, just last week it was.
Oh yeah, the pirate
Hey,
showed up
we
when he
got.
was trying to teach him.
Yeah, he was trying to teach him the stuff, and then all of a sudden you get the pirate warning, and then this time R5 falls off
that's a good
the map.
point. That's a good
Yeah.
point. I got a real when we see the Alamites for the first time, I got a real kind of vibe, and this is probably just me, like a real H.G. Wells time machine vibe. Because like Mandalore now, when he goes to it, is in ruins, which is what happens to the character in the time machine. He goes so far in the future, the whole civilization is kind of like ruined and gone, and all that remains are two groups of people, but one of them that on the surface are these kind of creatures called like Morlocks.
Yes.
And the Alamites remind me of the Morlocks.
That's exactly what my wife said.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, what? I didn't. I had no idea. And she's like, yeah, that's just like the time machine. And I'm like, oh, maybe I haven't read or watched Time Machine
There you go.
movie. But they're sort of these savages. And we find out later that they were sort of banished to the outskirts when the planet was civilized. And so, the Amalekites have, they didn't really disable R4. They just kind of knocked him over. And so then Din is like, okay, so we can breathe here. All right. So now somebody refresh my memory about, then they were like, we need to go. Why did they go back to Bo-Katan?
Well, hold on. Before that happens, we see him wielding the Darksaber against the
Clumsily.
Alamites. And if you haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett, you probably aren't cluing in the fact that it's hard to wield a lightsaber if you aren't force sensitive and you're not trained in it. And we're seeing.
I don't know if the Force came up in that whole thing.
Really, I thought that's what it was, but he's not in control of the saber. He's not one with it, and it's hard for him to wield. It's like a heavy, clumsy kind of thing, which we don't see down the way with somebody else.
Correct. It's almost like a Thor thing with the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good one, yeah.
Like he can't, he's not very good with it, but he does dispatch all of those people.
Yeah.
And
He might have been better off not using the dark saber.
Yeah.
yeah, it seemed to me like a blaster would have done the trick, but now this place that he's in, I was trying to, and I did some before and after comparisons with the way the Mandalore, because we're looking down on a city, like this underground city. And I was thinking, it's like I didn't know if this was an actual underground city before all the destruction happened, or if somehow this dome of crystallized glass is just covering it. And it looked like from the pictures I saw that a lot of this city indeed was sort of underground or under some kind of giant canopy, because they're looking
we did
down.
See the flyover, and we did see still pieces of the old wreckage of the city, like visible on the surface.
Yes, but apparently they also extend downward and
down.
Yes,
and down.
That's because they apparently, when they're looking down on the city, it looks like they're, like a mile high in the air. Or maybe less than that, but I mean, they're pretty high up there. But
let's talk about what happens to old Din at the bottom.
Oh,
well, we got to go. Don't we have to? Oh no, this doesn't happen. No, but shoot.
Yeah, I'm getting Grogu go down.
Grogu goes by himself later.
I'm getting
it's because Din and Grogu do something, and then Bo-Katan and Grogu literally do the exact same sequence of scenes.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
right.
That's why I'm confused. And I've seen it twice now. Good grief, what's wrong with me? Oh yeah. So he goes to the bottom, and I'm just glad that Baby Yoda's little crib runs on some pretty good batteries.
No kidding.
Because that is quite a useful little contraption. Because he's just floating down and flying around.
Oh yeah.
And that's how chatty he was this episode. Very chatty.
He's so great.
He's making all kinds of little.
I think he's got to talk by the end of the season, right? Like,
he's over 50 years old. He better say his first word one time.
I would think.
I mean.
Oh, but
like
his first word at age 50.
To it.
I heard an interesting theory about Grogu's age.
What?
That
using carbon freezing all that time?
Yes. Did you hear that?
Oh no, I was just making that
That's
up.
it. Like somehow he was in suspended animation for many, many years, because Yoda starts training Jedi when he's 100.
Right. That's why I keep doing the math on the Yoda math. I'm like, this guy, is he have a
so maybe he was frozen when he was frozen when he was like, I don't know, 5 or something. And they unfreeze him many years later. I don't.
Yeah, well, maybe.
That
would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense. He would still be a youngling then.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But so I thought this I got it like it's almost like he was going through like a haunted house here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had a little horror movie type vibe to it, for sure.
With the little alligator creatures in the
I
tubes.
like those things. Those are cool.
And but when he bends down, he sees a helmet in the dust, and he bends down, and then I jumped twice when this aired. It made me jump. Because he's attacked by this crazy
spawn of Grievous.
It's like a crab droid type.
That thing is awesome.
From like Clone Wars or something.
Yes,
it wasn't exactly like that, but it was close.
It was very cool.
I think I'm thinking more like that thing is cool, but when he gets out of it, or it gets out of it.
Oh,
That is like so
Yeah.
freaky. And
I
cool.
love the
that
window though. With you just see the eye. It's just so
Mhm.
cool.
Oh, that eye is super creepy.
It's really
Yes.
awesome. It could have just been like a droid or something that you don't see, but like they gave it that organic piece, like like that
And then
Grievous
he-
piece.
Kind of like
he-
Grievous. Yeah.
He
very
further detaches himself, and he's in a shell like
Yeah.
this big.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder and
Yeah.
stranger.
what is it? How long has it been there?
I don't know if we're gonna
What
What is
find
it
out. I hope
doing?
we find
It's like
out
sucking
more.
his blood or something.
Yeah.
Yes,
What is it
so
doing?
weird.
Harvesting his blood.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
the whole
okay.
thing.
So
That intermediate droid reminded me of Geonosian. Like
Mhm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what it, and I don't know if any of you guys have watched this show, but when he gets out of his when he's in his walking form,
Mhm.
he looks like the robot from the Netflix Lost in Space show. And I don't know if any of you guys have
I
watched
hadn't
that.
seen it.
Didn't
but-
watch it.
Not.
That's the first thing I thought of. But it is a cool, I mean, it's an organic, I mean, it's a cybernetic organism,
Yeah.
Yeah.
obviously. But what is he
Well,
doing?
Let's just
with him?
theorize here. The fact that he is like taking his blood, which is what we think he's doing. It's
Yes.
doing. Maybe this thing is part of a conspiracy on Mandalore that that we're going to find out more about, because obviously Mandalore is not completely uninhabitable. Obviously there's still life there. The stories of it are far exaggerated. So, and stuff is appearing off of Mandalore now, from Mandalore. So something's going on this planet, and I'm assuming that we're going to get something. I'm hoping something bigger on the plot there, that it's just not them finding the planet and leaving. There has to be something going on with this planet beyond what we discovered at the end of the show.
Yeah, he didn't finish his little bath seance, so I don't think they're leaving yet.
No, we're probably going to stay there for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's something nefarious going on that we're going to discover. And this thing, whatever that was, hopefully we learn more about, because I really am interested in finding out what this little eyeball
Yeah.
thing is.
That
Yeah.
is, if that's just a one-off, that is so much freaky detail. That's
I
so
know.
cool to just do. Oh my god!
Like
so
it's
cool.
like a completely random,
yeah,
like strange thing.
But there was so much focus on it. Like,
Yeah. And how
Yeah.
he put him in that, it almost looked like
That
something you
cage?
put
Like
yeah,
he was
you-
gonna cook a.
like a rotisserie.
I thought that's what they're doing. I
Yeah.
thought
I
I
was
was
like-
like, one.
man. But then the whole he kept jabbing him in the neck and
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
pulling fluids out.
Ew.
Yeah, very strange. The whole thing was strange. And the creature himself was strange. Keeps detaching, getting smaller and smaller. And
But we didn't see that yet.
no, we're not
No.
there.
So
What I thought was really cool about that scene was Grogu, goes and tries to save Din
Yes.
Djarin in that, and his force powers just aren't quite strong enough, which it's actually kind of a nice twist to things, because it seems like he's bailed him out more times than not, and this time he couldn't.
Mhm.
Not in that way.
Well, yeah, I think if he had a little more time and like making noise wasn't an issue,
Mhm.
you might have gotten him out, but he's rattling stuff around and that thing was like, hey. So, and I think, Din just wanted him out of there. He's like, go get Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what old Bo's doing right now. What do you think? Just think she's like being productive?
I did notice she now has a blanket and like a pillow on her throne.
He just hangs out right there.
I know.
Just go anywhere.
It's
I think you were right though too. That Din must have called ahead last time.
Yeah.
But then, because he's like, oh, there's an unannounced visitor. But then she's still just sitting there.
well, maybe that's where she sleeps because it looks really
It look-
comfortable.
It looks like that's where she sleeps.
I mean, but this time she had a blanket there or something. I
But,
thought that was a funny.
We did
detail.
see a little force action with Grogu on the way out of the caves,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
where he kind of handed it to the Alamite.
the
trying to get him.
Alamite, yeah. Which that was something that was in the trailer.
Right.
Which when the minute I saw that, I was like, oh, that's from the trailer, which
Yeah.
kind of sucks. But
You can't win them all.
but here's
yeah.
something else. Here's something else about this show and the trailer. All the trailer shots, I'm pretty sure, come from these first two episodes.
They did that in the previous,
There's a couple of shots that aren't.
Are there?
I think
Yeah,
they take
like
them
the
up to
Star
the first
Destroyers.
half.
Oh, the Star Destroyers. That was the additional.
And then we see
scene.
Jedi.
Oh, and then we forget what I say. We're on course.
Yeah, but you know what?
Everything else.
Their
I'm an idiot.
formula has been in like season 1 and season 2, their trailers only go up to like the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I actually forgot everything you just talked about in the trailer. I couldn't have remembered that if you had asked me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, we go back to what's the planet that she's on?
It's the Kreese family. I don't know.
Carvala.
Yeah, it's
Carvala.
Carvel, where they get
some nice ice cream.
Ice cream.
So yeah, she's hanging out with her comforter on the. I made fun of Terry because that's how she lays. She has like a fleece that she's on the couch with. She's always curled up in it. I'm like, hey, Bo-Katan must just watches TV just like you.
They should release that blanket. Release that blanket so you can buy it.
Well, yeah. They will. I'm sure they will. But then Bo-Katan doesn't watch TV. She doesn't do anything except sit in this giant room.
Just ponders her.
I like that robot she has. That droid. That
Yeah,
droid
it's
reminds
like an
me
EV droid or something.
It's like a combo between the EV and the med droid.
Yeah, 2-1B.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like they had
cool
like they took the best of both or something.
And she's like, okay, let's just get rid of him once and for all. I don't want to deal with him. But she comes around pretty quick when she just sees it's Grogu by himself, and she seems pretty concerned. And she's like, okay, download the R2 unit and let's see what's going on. And before we know it, we're in Bo-Katan's ship, which is a little roomier.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a nice little spot.
I feel like they were missing something there where she gets to react to the fact that Mandalore's like inhabitable, or figuring out that that's where they were, and like getting the readings about the atmosphere. Like, I don't know. I feel like there was like a scene there that we didn't get where she sees all that.
Well, it's so interesting though, because her planet is right there, and it's like she's a spacefaring person. She goes all over the place, and she just hasn't popped down to Mandalore just to
do exactly what he just did. Yeah,
like, it's right there. It's like you can see it from her planet practically. It may
just hurt her so much just to see it.
Maybe.
Well, that's
kind
possible.
of alluded to something along those lines.
Like any of that, I would have liked to have seen her before they go. Like, it just cuts immediately to them getting there, and she kind of reacts to going through the atmosphere, and that's nice. But just like, I don't know.
Where she says it didn't always look this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very beautiful place, and but they get down to the cave entrance pretty quick, and
speed run. Grogu knows the way.
Yes, he does. And she puts her helmet on. I see her helmet behind you, Brian.
Oh yes.
Oh, there it is.
It's right up there. It's a cool helmet. I think she looks cool with the helmet on.
She wears her armor well.
Oh man, since Battlestar Galactica days has had a Katie Sackhoff obsession.
I'm unapologetic.
Yeah, I mean, we don't apologize for Din in the suit either. So
see, funny you should say that, because I thought he was going to give us a show there at the end when he starts.
I speak for all the people when I say that was a ripoff. I was like, you don't bathe in a suit of armor?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What that is?
We'll get to that, but that was a little strange. I agree.
Well, so they get down to there's like we sort of talked about earlier, the pretty spectacular fight with the spider
it was cool.
droid. And the Darksaber here, she's as deft with that as a Jedi is with a lightsaber.
Oh, no kidding.
That was
cut one thing down.
One-handed slicing. So there's something to that, quite obviously. The Darksaber does not fight her. Like it fights Mr. Jaren. So
Mr. kind of doofus this whole episode.
Yeah.
This was a Bo-Katan episode.
Great way. In a great way. But he is kind of a
Well,
it felt more like a Bo-Katan episode than a Din Djarin episode.
Well, I like that kind of, because we sort of got more time with her. I didn't
dislike
that. And the way that this played in the trailers, it almost set up like, oh, well, Bo-Katan's going to be an adversary. because they they pick and choose as they do with trailers, the moments that they're going to give you. And she's like, saying stuff like, well, you didn't think your dad was the only Mandalorian and all this stuff. And but so we defeat the spider creature, and Din Djarin sort of is out of it because of this weird thing is sucking his fluids out, or with very dirty equipment, I might add.
Oh, yeah,
it looked
that
like
was not
those
sterilized.
No, those IV tubes were like had crap all on them.
And he's like covered in like grime and dust too.
Yes.
Like it's just
It's nasty.
So he wakes up to find Bo-Katan is making some soup. What's the soup called?
Pog soup.
Pog soup. That's right. And apparently it's a staple of Mandalorian cuisine. And Din Djarin says quite bluntly, "You've never had pog soup?" No. The way he says it is funny. He's like, "No."
I just had 8 needles in my neck. Give me a break.
Yeah. So, he takes a few sips, and I think because Grogu is like wanting that stuff. He's like standing there when she's making it, but she hands it to Mando, and Grogu's like, and I think he takes a few sips and maybe hands it off, but I don't think we ever see that. But so, we're sitting here around our campfire, and she's like, "Okay, well, let's go home." And he's like, "Nope, I'm doing this." And she's like, "Oh, okay,
I'll show you the way."
Yeah, she's like, "You'll never find it." So they go deeper down into this strange.
Now, I really liked the conversation that the two of them had on this walk, and I liked how she reminisced about, going in the waters of life, and the waters of life or life water,
living waters,
living waters.
Yeah.
And I liked how she's like, and I recited the words, the creed, and I made my dad proud, because what you get is that she's a believer in Mandalore as a people, but not really as Mandalore as a philosophy. And she's not a true believer in the sense of how the other Mandalores approach this stuff. She believes in the cult, in the people, but it's not the myth of Mandalore. And she goes through this whole thing where she's like, I said the words, I was a princess, and I made my father proud because I didn't like mess it up. And that's like the extent of it. But we see a little extra down the way when we reach the waters, which kind of is inspiring to see how she has a bit of a turn when something happens.
Well, I also picked up in that conversation, and I could have been reading into this, because we know that her sister Satine rejected all of this. And I almost picked up that, I did this for my father. I'm the one who didn't, and I don't remember the exact words, but it made me think of her sister. And maybe that's by design, maybe it's just something I'm reading into it, but it seemed to me that she's like, I'm the one my dad is proud of because I did this.
Yeah, because he's like, your father sounds like an interesting man. I would have liked to meet him. And she immediately is like, he was a great man, like a lot of reverence for him. So
yeah,
and so
Lindsay, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Because I didn't watch any of the stuff that Satine was in. Is she still alive in Kin at this point? No, she gone. Okay.
She might not make it.
Okay. Spoilers.
Yeah. Gruesomely killed in front of Obi-Wan by Darth Maul.
That's right.
Dang. Okay.
Because Darth Maul took over Mandalore for a little bit.
So when she died, were her and Bo-Katan on bad terms?
They were on opposing sides, but Bo-Katan was affected by her death.
Okay. I was wondering.
And Lindsay, what's really strange about this whole thing is like the cult that Din Djarin has been a part of, the Mandalore cult, Death Watch, if you see like the armor's got the horns on top, these horns appeared when Darth Maul was in charge of Mandalore, and they kind of were emulating him with the horns.
Some Mandalorians changed their helmets to have small little horns on them as showing their allegiance.
So, and it's interesting how they still carry those horns, even though he was a terrible leader and a conqueror. But anyways, I digress.
And then Palpatine eventually just had enough of it. And
the Darth Maul storyline in Clone Wars was amazing. Flat out amazing.
I mean, and it was his, his resurrection and his, and then the path of terror that he led until Palpatine said, "Okay, you're done here."
He turned out to be an incredibly rich character, like in Star Wars. And
the final season of Clone Wars, season 7, is the Siege of Mandalore, is just some of the greatest Star Wars animation ever, and it heavily involves Ahsoka as well. It's definitely something you would just really enjoy, I think. So
I'll get there.
Yeah. So Matt, what were you talking about? Like as she gets further down into the.
So when they finally reach the water, what's interesting? Many things are interesting. One being that he's going in fully clothed, which is
interesting
strange.
Is a word to use.
Which is
Although
strange.
it's funny, I think I was watching this actually this morning with a friend of mine, Greg Lindsay. He came over and so he made a comment. He's like, "Man, look how Bo-Katan's looking." like she's standing behind him. She's standing behind him like.
But
Maybe
you didn't ask her to turn around. So.
But then it's just like, okay, I'm going to take off my cloak and my jetpack. That's it.
That's it.
And my gun.
So he gets in the water and he starts to recite the words. And what's really cool, I thought, is that as he's reciting these words, they have a great shot of Bo-Katan, and you almost kind of see her realizing that he's saying the words and he is a complete believer in these words. And I think that she wanted to be that believer herself, or she sees what that is now. And I think that's where she's starting to make a big turn. Maybe she was always a believer and maybe she was just kind of pushing against it. But we hear how she's like, I just said the words to make my father happy. And now she's seeing somebody saying the words and believing them. And you can see it's affecting her, which I like.
And what's funny is right before that, she read that placard that was there.
Yes.
And she almost read it with a little bit of a mocking tone.
Yeah.
And then, she kind of changes her tune a little bit.
And I think going back to when they're in the corridor a little before that, when she's talking about her dad, she's like, he died defending Mandalore. And then Din Djarin very seriously says, this is the way. And she doesn't respond to him, but she just stands there like, sort of like, like she doesn't know what, like maybe she wants to say it back to him, but she doesn't.
What a weird thing.
He's very sincere, and I feel like she's very flippant the whole time about everything.
But yeah, these conversations are starting to bring her like
her cynicism down to earth, and
then she's like to Grogu, like, "What are you looking at? Shut up."
Yeah, I know. He's sitting there going, "Oh, poo poo."
But what an interesting thing for someone like Bo-Katan, who is from Mandalorian royalty, who has every reason to be, a true believer and an advocate for Mandalore and Mandalorians, to see a foundling who's not a original Mandalore, he's a made Mandalorian, be such a believer, and to follow that lead is interesting to me.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to wonder if there's some for him, like you were born, you have this in your blood, and I take it way more seriously than you do. But so we get
something happens when he's reciting the words.
So do we think, okay,
and it was a heck of a lot deeper than I expected it to be.
Okay, but here's the thing, he slips under the water like pretty abruptly, right? I mean, it's like boom,
right?
She jumps in, turns on her jetpack.
Awesome jetpack underwater.
So cool.
So great.
I'm thinking, how fast did he fall? Like, oh, you passed him. He's back up here
Well, I don't
still.
think he ever fell.
He didn't fall.
I think he was
pulled.
He was pulled.
He was
Okay.
yoinked.
That's what I was thinking.
Or was he chosen?
Well, I don't know. But we finally see the mythosaur.
Yeah, it was great.
That was nuts. I got like just a visceral feeling when I saw that.
Well, yeah, you see the big.
It was like seeing Luke at the end of season 2.
Oh wow,
that's what it felt like to me.
It was very cool.
Jared brought him down there for what though? Like he didn't do anything with him. He just kind of put him in the dirt.
And he's laying there, and hopefully these helmets have air supplies of
Jared,
some kind.
how much does the mythosaur mean to you?
The mythosaur is right here.
Where?
I've had it on my. I've had it on my.
It's an audio medium generally. You have to say where.
Look at this, folks. If you're watching the video, that's a Mandalore right there.
I've got that tattoo in 1996
in a prison.
No, not not in a prison. Yeah, I got that in 1996. Me and a friend of mine named Josh, who listens to the show, Josh. We saw a picture. This is the early 90s, so pretty much the only Star Wars stuff you're seeing is role-playing stuff, role-playing source books.
Mm-hmm.
West End Games did a Star Wars role-playing game. And we would like go to the mall and like B. Dalton bookstore or Walden Books, and we'd look at these source books all the time. And in one of them was a picture of Boba Fett from Empire Strikes Back, and that on his left shoulder, we saw that symbol. And it's not something I'd seen Return of the Jedi, all the time as a kid, but I'd never really paid attention to. And at that point, we both said, "Hey, when we turn 18, we should get this as a tattoo." And so that was probably 91, 92, I guess. But it took me to 1996 to get it. But I never forgot. And of course, back then in the early 90s, there was no, I think they did say it was from a mythosaur, because a lot of the Mandalorian stuff that they've pulled for the TV show is taken from the old expanded universe. But I'd never seen one. I mean, there was never I'd never seen an official rendering of one. But
I've never seen that.
But today, I finally saw a mythosaur in the flesh.
And big.
Yeah,
it was huge. And if you recall, in the first season, our friend Nick Nolte, the Ugnaught, says, "Your ancestors rode the giant mythosaur." And
well, I think, look, I'm going to make some predictions here, and it could be Din, it could be Bo-Katan, but somebody's riding that mythosaur, and somebody's going to rally the Mandalorians together. Like, for example, Bo-Katan's crew is off doing their own merc work. This is going to bring all the Mandalores together. It's going to unite them, and it's going to reignite the planet in some way.
I think they're going to rebuild. That's what I was thinking about that earlier, that they're going to rebuild this planet eventually.
Riding the mythosaur with the Darksaber.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
With a jet.
But the mythosaur is gigantic. So you can
maybe there's smaller mythosaurs that they're gonna like.
And Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are gonna have kids, and
I don't know. We'll see.
Not if he's keeping that suit on. I mean, if he's not taking it off to take a bath, I don't know how they're gonna make anything else work. So
yeah, she's like, "Look, you got to take the helmet off, okay? This is not gonna work."
Yeah, I feel like
you'll
they
bathe in the mines later. Just don't fall to the bottom. They can't
really have him ever decide that that's not really for him, because not only he's very like a believer, like you said, but also I feel like they can't like let go of the fact that they need to be able to put anyone in that suit to be Din.
Yes, and it would also negate everything we're doing now in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like
he does all that for what?
Why? Yeah, if you're just gonna have it take the helmet off, then what is this for? So. Yeah, and that's where they leave it. And that sort of drove me crazy a little bit.
Me too.
But I was
Wait.
They left us hanging a bit.
it was a longer episode than last
Mhm.
week's.
Yeah.
And I think I have no idea where this is going. I mean, obviously somebody's going to ride the mythosaur with the dark saber, but I mean, I don't know how we get there. I don't know what
maybe
happens
they
next.
maybe they co-rule or like he's got the mythosaur, she's got the dark saber, because it, like you said, it does feel like they're pointing towards her being the one who should be wielding it. She knows how to wield it. It's not fighting her.
Mhm.
But like the mythosaur chose him, like Matt said earlier, and like let him go back up. And I feel like Bo-Katan, like you were saying, like is reacting to that. She seems like she feels like it chose him a little bit. She's like, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I don't know.
I mean,
So
we
I-
might get like a reenactment of Conan and Red Sonja battling it out and just coming to a stalemate.
I don't think that'll happen.
No, okay. No, we don't
Maybe
think
they'll cut it
All
into
right.
two halves and they'll both get one.
Hey, well, there you go. So
this whole
okay.
episode, before we wrap up, this whole episode felt very like I'm at home at Star Wars now. Like this was a real, like this could have been one of the movies
It
or
didn't
part
feel-
of one of the movies.
To me, it didn't feel like it was like last week. Felt like we were rushing to get from one thing to the next thing, and it didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like it was unfolding naturally. It felt like here we go, here, do go. But this settled right back into the rhythm that this show is really good at.
Yeah,
And
it killed that video game vibe that you had talked about.
Yes,
It
I
killed
agree.
it. I was
Because
thinking about that while watching it.
They took their time. You had, like you said, a lot of great Bo-Katan stuff in this episode. It just good stuff. Now, I don't want to short anybody who may take notes during the show. So, Brian, what did you take notes?
I did, and I have one
nitpicks
note that we've not addressed.
Okay.
Oh.
And did anybody see the editing flaw? Like it
Oh,
was
no.
bad.
Was it what are the creatures called that are living in the caves?
Alamites.
Was it when the
No.
Alamite that Grogu flings away is just gone in the next cut?
No, I didn't notice that
No?
one.
Oh.
But I did notice that when Bo-Katan's walking through the corridor, she's walking, and then all of a sudden she's closer to you, but it's supposed to be all like one shot. It
Notice that one.
looks odd. If you go back and watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Probably
Well, she's-
probably an effect of shooting in the volume.
So when
It-
she's
yeah.
on her planet or when she's down in the
No,
mines?
when she's walking through the cavern, the mines, she's walking, and then all of a sudden, I mean, like suddenly she's closer to the camera, but it's supposed to be a fluid shot. You could tell that it's.
I'll
not
check.
quite
I'll
right.
watch. I want to watch it again after we're done here.
Yeah,
Watch it a
I'll have
second
to.
time.
I'm gonna watch it again when we're done. I'll try to give you the timestamp on it if I remember.
Interesting.
I'll put it in the video. That's no, but this was a great episode, and I'm real jazzed. The season is exciting as always. Mandalorian has not let me down yet. We've got some. I mean, this is only the second episode. We're already in the mines. I don't know where
Yes.
this show's going to take me now. Maybe
Yeah,
back to Plant Pizza the Hut.
Oh God.
But I mean, I don't know where it's going to take us, but I mean, it's got some.
Yeah,
it
the
has to have some big
pirates are
plans. So I'm excited.
Yeah, the pirates did not appear this week, nor did a de-aged Billy D. Williams.
No.
There still might be hope.
That was a
No,
good.
no,
That
no.
was a good. I feel like they also didn't do all that IG-11 stuff to never go get IG-11
to go back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. We're going to see IG-11 somehow
Yeah.
strapped to the hood of the Naboo fighter.
I really want to get a bigger ship.
Yes,
The
You ready for a
logistics of
bigger
that
ship?
I would
Thank
like
you.
him just get another Razor Crest.
I love that shit.
I liked it.
I mean, he could. They had a toilet in it and everything.
Yeah,
They
the
just
carbonite,
like felt like they
the
lived
carbonite
in it. Like,
chamber. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
It was a
Yeah,
cool
they-
ship.
it felt like he could live in it. Where does Din live? And he doesn't.
He's
Well, we saw
homeless
him. He was
right now.
asleep in the last episode. He was
I
asleep against the thing.
know.
He's like,
He's got to hope
He's
for some.
homeless.
He stops at all these nasty truck stops when he's got to go to the bathroom or something.
I mean,
is
Like
there an
dropping
evac? I don't know where
Florida or
the
something.
evac is on that one. So,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
I'm enjoying it so far.
Absolutely.
That was a great episode.
All right,
Really
so
excited.
we'll reconvene here next week, and we'll see what happens. Is the mythosaur friend or foe? Will not Bo-Katan? Well, maybe. Will Din Djarin take any more of his clothes off? We'll have to see. Lindsay, fingers crossed. All right. So anyway, gang, come back here next week, and we'll see if you're worthy to hold the Darksaber. And we'll see you next time.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us here next time as we take you into the 25th century.